My name is Rebecca, and I'm 24 years old now. Most of the time, I don't like to share stories about my past, but some moments cling to you no matter how many years go by. Some memories don't fade, they haunt you, echoing in the back of your mind when you least expect it. What I'm about to tell you is one of those moments. This happened when I was a senior in high school. It was a Friday afternoon, 7th period, the last class, before spring break. The whole room was buzzing with restless energy. Kids tapping pencils on desks, exchanging notes, counting down the minutes until freedom. We were in calculus, but that day, no test, no worksheets, no pressure. Our teacher, Mr. Thomas, was one of those rare teachers who actually felt more like a friend. Instead of teaching, he pulled up a quiz game on Sporkle.com. We were shouting out answers, laughing, and trying to one-up each other on logos and trivia. I remember the exact moment the world shifted. My friend Jacob had just answered one of the brand logo questions. The second he said it, the school's PA system crackled to life. The dean's voice came through, panicked, rushed. This is not a drill. Teachers, go into lockdown immediately. My stomach dropped. A cold chill shot through me. Even our easygoing teacher suddenly looked like he'd aged 10 years in an instant. He shut off the projector, killed the lights, and told us all to get to the back corner of the classroom. The sound of chairs scraping across the floor filled the silence as we scrambled. We huddled there, pressed shoulder to shoulder, the classroom darker than I'd ever seen Italiano. The hum of the fluorescent light panel in the back of the room stopped. The power had been cut. It was so still, so suffocatingly quiet, that every small sound, someone's nervous breathing, a cough, felt like an explosion. Then we heard it. Screaming. A man's voice, raw and cracked, bellowing from the hallway. I'll kill all of you. Two girls in the class instantly started crying. The sound of their muffled sobs made everything feel 10 times worse. The voice grew louder, closer. Whoever it was, he was coming down the hallway, slamming his fists against the lockers as he moved. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my ears. Then came the pounding on our door. Open up! Open up! He roared, each slam rattling the doorframe. One of the crying girls couldn't hold it in anymore and screamed. That single sound nearly broke the fragile barrier of silence we were trying to maintain. Our teacher put his finger to his lips, desperate, urging us all to stay quiet. But the pounding didn't stop. The door shook under each hit. The man outside was like some wild animal trying to break its way in. Time stretched in a sickening way. Every second felt like a full minute. Every slam like a countdown to the moment the door might splinter and he'd be standing there, face twisted with rage. And then, as suddenly as it began, it ended. The pounding stopped. The voice moved down the hallway again, his screams fading into the distance until all that remained was the ringing in my ears and the pounding of my heart. We stayed frozen, barely breathing, until finally, after what felt like half an hour but must have only been 10 minutes, Diddy's voice came back on the speaker. He explained what had happened. Some mentally unstable man had slipped into the building and assaulted the woman at the front desk, forcing her to run outside for help. Nobody knew if he was armed. Security at that time was almost non-existent. No cameras, no locked entrances. The school had been wide open. The dean instructed teachers to keep teaching but not to let anyone leave. It felt surreal, like we were supposed to go back to solving math problems after hearing someone screaming death threats outside our classroom door. But the most disturbing part, we found out later that night, a janitor discovered the man hiding in a storage closet in the far wing of the school. The janitor swore he saw the handle of a .44 Magnum sticking out of the man's pocket. But before the police could arrive, he was gone. Vanished. To this day, none of us know if he was ever caught. None of us know his name or what became of him. But I can still see it all when I close my eyes. The flickering emergency lights in the hallway, the shrieks of my classmates, the way the door rattled under each slam. I can still hear his voice, full of hatred and madness, searing itself into my memory. And even now, years later, that pounding still echoes in my head at night, reminding me that for one terrifying moment, we were only a thin wooden door away from death. People ask me what my scariest school memory is. I usually hesitate. Do I tell them about the pounding door in high school? Or do I talk about what happened when I was younger, back in middle school? Because that one That one was different. It wasn't just about fear in the moment. It was about realizing how close danger had always been, watching us from the outside. It was early October. Gray skies, light rain falling across the campus. I was in 7th grade, and it was first lunch period, the one reserved for 6th graders and half the 7th graders. We were laughing, trading chips and cookies, waiting in line for pizza slices when it happened. 4 loud booms. At first, I thought it was thunder. It was cloudy and wet outside, so it made sense. But almost immediately, kids began screaming. Not playful shrieks, real screams, filled with panic. Campus security rushed in, yelling for everyone to get inside the multi-purposed room. The kids in line were forced to throw away their food and run. Teachers were herding us like cattle, their faces pale and serious. The multi-purpose room was massive, with tall glass windows along the back wall. As soon as we were inside, staff members pulled the heavy curtains across them. Adults spread out at every exit, arms crossed, walkie-talkies buzzing, trying to look kumboot failing. We crowded together in confusion. Dozens of us whispered, speculating, trying to piece together the truth. My friend Eric couldn't stand not knowing. He slipped over to one of the adults near the door and asked outright, "What's going on?" When he came back, his face was pale. "You know those houses right across from TM?" he whispered to me. "Yeah," I said. "There's this crazy guy." He barricaded himself in front of his house. "He's threatening to kill himself and shoot the cops if they try to evict him." Eric leaned closer, and he was spotted watching kids outside the school, just standing there, staring. My stomach twisted. It only got worse when Eric added, "He's also a registered sex offender." The whispers spread quickly, weaving through the room like electricity. Kids gasped. Some laughed nervously. Others sat in stunned silence. I remember pressing myself against a cool tile wall, staring at the drawn curtains, imagining a face peering through the glass. We were stuck in that room for over an hour. An hour. That felt like forever. Some kids cried quietly. Others tried to distract themselves by playing games on their phones, though no one could really focus. The teachers kept glancing at their watches, muttering to each other in low voices. Eventually, they started escorting us back to classrooms, one group at a time. The lockdown was lifted, but none of us felt safe. Later that day, I learned something that shook me even more. My friend Brandy lived right next door to that man. She told me about the previous Halloween. She said she'd seen him standing at his window, slicing into his arm with something sharp. With his own blood, he had scrawled a message across the glass. "Don't come here or I'll kill you." Everyone assumed it was just some sick Halloween decoration. Fake blood. Creepy joke. Kids laughed. Parents shrugged. Nobody reported it. But after that lockdown, we all realized the horrifying truth. It wasn't a joke. That man was real. His sickness was real. His obsession with violence was real. And he had been right there, living among us, watching us. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop picturing those words written in blood. I imagined him behind his window, eyes fixed on me, smiling. I imagined him whispering promises to himself, waiting for the right day. Some nightmares don't end when you wake up. Some follow you into the daylight. And from that October afternoon on, I never walked to school without looking over my shoulder, because I knew monsters weren't hiding under the bed. They were living across the street.